Commander Vex 9's 4 eyes twitched in what could only be described as barely contained amusement. The human cadet stood before him, all 5 feet 6 of her, looking about as threatening as a newborn fluff beetle. Her name was Maya Torres, according to the datapad, and she had just volunteered for what most rational beings would consider suicide. "You want to face the Grimjaw?" Vex 9's voice carried that special tone reserved for explaining obvious things to very stupid people. The same Grimjaw that tore apart 3 of our finest warriors last week. Maya shrugged. Actually shrugged, as if being fed to a 2-ton killing machine was just another Tuesday activity. "Sure," she said, adjusting the straps on her worn combat boots. "Why not?" The other cadets in the training bay went silent. Even the usually chatty Zephyrian twins stopped their constant clicking. Captain Thorne, the grizzled veteran who had seen more battles than most species had wars, nearly dropped his data tablet. "Human," Thorne growled, his scarred mandibles clicking together. "Do you understand what you are volunteering for?" The Grimjaw is not some training dummy. It is a beast bred specifically for war, designed to kill anything that moves within a 50-meter radius. Maya nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds fun. When do we start?" Vex 9's secondary arms began that nervous twitch he had developed since humans joined the Galactic Academy. These creatures were either the bravest species in known space or the most catastrophically stupid. The jury was still out on which. The training facility's main arena was a sight to behold. Reinforced walls rose 30 meters high, equipped with energy barriers that could contain a small nuclear explosion. The floor was scarred with claw marks, burn patterns, and what looked suspiciously like bite marks from very large teeth. Just one thing before we begin. YouTube tells me 94.3% of you watching aren't subscribed. Subscribing is free. It really supports the channel, and you'll get more amazing HFY sci-fi stories delivered straight to you. Don't miss out. "Ladies and gentlemen, cadets and instructors," Vex 9 announced through the facility's speakers, "today we have a special demonstration. Cadet Maya Torres of Earth will attempt to survive 2 minutes in the arena with a juvenile Grimjaw." The collective gasp from the observation deck was audible even through the thick, transparent steel barriers. Several instructors began placing bets, though none were betting on the human's survival. Maya stood in the center of the arena, wearing nothing but standard academy fatigues and carrying a basic energy blade. No armor, no heavy weapons, no backup. Just a small human female who looked like she should be studying for exams rather than facing down a creature that nightmares had nightmares about. "Releasing the Grimjaw now," came the announcement. The massive blast door at the far end of the arena began to rise with a grinding mechanical shriek. Darkness lay beyond, and from that darkness came a sound that made even the veteran warriors on the observation deck step back. It was part roar, part howl, and entirely terrifying. 2 glowing red eyes appeared in the shadows, followed by the slow, deliberate thud of massive claws on metal flooring. The Grimjaw emerged into the arena's lighting, and even Maya had to admit it was impressive. The beast stood nearly 4 meters tall, its muscular frame covered in natural armor plating that looked like it could deflect starship cannon fire. Razor-sharp claws extended from each of its 6 limbs, and its mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth that could probably bite through a small asteroid. "Oh," Maya said quietly, "you are a big boy, aren't you?" The Grimjaw's response was a roar that shook dust from the arena's rafters. It began moving toward her with surprising speed for something so massive, its claws leaving gouges in the reinforced flooring. In the observation deck, Cadet Finn Murphy, Maya's human classmate, was gripping the barrier so hard his knuckles had gone white. "She's insane," he muttered. "Completely, absolutely insane." "Your species often is," replied Cadet Zara 7, a Keltorian whose blue-scaled features showed genuine concern. "Though usually not this creatively." The Grimjaw was now within 20 meters of Maya and picking up speed. Standard protocol called for the cadet to activate their energy shield, find cover, and try to survive until the time limit expired. Maya, however, had apparently not read the standard protocols. Instead, she began walking toward the creature. Not running away. Not seeking cover. Walking directly toward the massive killing machine as if she were going to ask it for directions. "What is she doing?" Vex 9's voice cracked slightly through the speakers. The Grimjaw seemed equally confused by this behavior. It slowed its charge, tilting its massive head as if trying to process why its prey was approaching rather than fleeing. This momentary confusion would prove to be a critical mistake. Maya continued her casual stroll until she was within 5 meters of the beast. Then she stopped, looked up at the creature's glowing red eyes, and smiled. "Hey there, gorgeous," she said conversationally. "You know, you remind me of my neighbor's dog back on Earth. Mr. Fluffy was about your size, just not quite as toothy." The Grimjaw's response was to swipe at her with claws that could have carved through a tank. Maya stepped aside so casually that she might have been avoiding a puddle on the sidewalk. The massive claw whistled past her head, missing by centimeters. Now, she said, still in that conversational tone. "That's no way to greet a new friend." The creature roared again and lunged forward, jaws open wide enough to swallow her whole. Maya dropped to one knee, rolled sideways, and came up behind the beast's left front leg. This was when things got interesting. Maya's energy blade hummed to life, its blue glow reflecting off the Grimjaw's armor plating. But instead of trying to slash through the creature's natural armor, she did something that made every observer lean forward in disbelief. She began examining the beast's leg structure like a biology student studying for finals. She murmured, dodging another swipe while maintaining her academic focus. "Interesting joint configuration. Very similar to Earth's extinct megalosaurs, actually. Same basic articulation points, same structural weaknesses." The Grimjaw spun around, trying to bring its claws to bear, but Maya was already moving. She slipped between its legs like she was playing some bizarre game of tag, her blade making small, precise cuts that seemed almost delicate compared to the creature's massive bulk. "The thing about predators," she continued, her voice carrying clearly through the arena's speakers, "is that they're usually designed for hunting prey that runs away. They're not really built for dealing with something that fights back intelligently." Another dodge, another precise cut. The Grimjaw was becoming increasingly frustrated, its roars echoing through the facility as it tried unsuccessfully to land a blow on the seemingly impossible human. In the observation deck, Captain Thorne was staring with all 4 of his eyes wide open. "She is studying it," he said, his voice filled with something between admiration and horror. "While fighting for her life, she is conducting a real-time anatomical analysis." Maya's blade found its mark with surgical precision. A small cut behind the creature's rear leg, severing what looked like an important tendon. The Grimjaw's roar changed pitch, becoming higher, more pained. "Sorry about that," Maya said, not sounding particularly sorry. "But you really should have better manners with guests." The beast tried to turn, but its injured leg betrayed it, sending it stumbling sideways. Maya was there, her blade finding another precise spot, this time along the creature's spine, where the armor plating showed a small gap. The Grimjaw's movements became sluggish, uncoordinated. Its mighty roars faded to confused whimpers as its nervous system began to fail. Maya stepped back, deactivating her energy blade. "And that," she announced to the stunned silence, "is why you should always study your anatomy textbooks." The massive creature swayed once, twice, then crashed to the arena floor with a thud that shook the entire facility. Maya looked up at the observation deck, where dozens of alien faces stared down at her in complete silence. She checked the arena's chronometer display and grinned. 1 minute, 43 seconds, she called out. "Not bad for a Tuesday morning." Vex 9's voice came through the speakers, though he seemed to be having trouble forming words. The Grimjaw is it dead?" Maya finished helpfully. "Oh yes, very dead. Though I suppose euthanized might be more accurate. I went for the neural cluster behind the third vertebra. Quick and relatively painless." She began walking toward the arena exit, pausing only to pat the dead creature's massive head. "Thanks for the workout, big guy. You were almost as tough as Mr. Fluffy." The blast door sealed behind her, leaving the arena in stunned silence. In the observation deck, several instructors were frantically checking and rechecking the chronometer readings, as if hoping they had malfunctioned. 1 minute and 43 seconds, Cadet Murphy said weakly. "She killed a Grimjaw in 1 minute and 43 seconds. With a basic energy blade, added Zara 7, her blue scales having gone several shades paler. Captain Thorne was already pulling up Maya's service record on his datapad. Born on Earth, specifically in a place called Texas. Previous occupation, veterinary student. Hobbies listed as hiking, amateur xenobiology, and something called monster truck racing. "Monster trucks," he muttered. "What in the seven hells is a monster truck?" Vex 9 appeared in the observation deck, his usually composed demeanor showing cracks of bewilderment. "I need to file a report about this," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. "But how does one explain to High Command that a human veterinary student just killed one of our most dangerous war beasts using what appeared to be a textbook knowledge of comparative anatomy? You could start with the part about humans being completely insane," suggested Instructor Kamal 3, whose green carapace was still trembling slightly. "No," Vex 9 replied thoughtfully. "I think the insanity is just a side effect. The real problem is that they are apparently very, very good at killing things they have never seen before." Down in the arena preparation area, Maya was filling out the standard post-exercise paperwork. She looked perfectly calm, as if she had just completed a routine training drill rather than accomplish what most military analysts would classify as impossible. "Excuse me, Cadet Torres," came a voice behind her. Maya turned to find Professor Hendricks, the Academy's chief xenobiology instructor, approaching with what looked like several datapads worth of questions. "Yes, sir?" "That was quite a demonstration. Would you mind explaining your methodology?" Maya set down her pen and considered the question. "Well, sir, the Grimjaw's basic body structure follows standard hexapedal predator design patterns. Once I identified the major muscle groups and joint articulation points, it was just a matter of finding the optimal locations to disrupt motor function and neural control." Professor Hendricks blinked his 3 eyes in sequence. You identified major muscle groups while being attacked by a creature specifically designed to kill you?" "Yes, sir. Though I have to admit, the armor plating was better than I expected. Much more sophisticated than anything we see on Earth. Really quite impressive engineering." "Engineering?" "Well, yes. The Grimjaw is obviously an artificially enhanced species. the natural armor integration, the oversized muscle mass, the neural augmentation evident in the cranial structure. Someone put a lot of thought into designing the perfect killer. Professor Hendricks made several notes, his writing appendage moving so fast it was creating small sparks. And you determined all of this during a 2-minute combat encounter? Maya shrugged. Basic observational skills, sir. Same techniques I used back home for livestock veterinary work, just scaled up for something trying to eat me. Livestock? Hendricks repeated weakly. Yes, sir. Cows, horses, the occasional angry bull. Though I have to say, earth cattle are generally much more cooperative than your Grimjaw. The professor's notes were becoming increasingly frantic. Cadet Torres, would you be interested in conducting a more detailed analysis of the creature? For academic purposes, of course. Maya's eyes lit up with genuine enthusiasm. Could I? That would be fascinating. I have so many questions about the muscular enhancement mechanisms and the neural pathway modifications. Plus, I would love to examine the armor plating integration more closely. As she spoke, her excitement became increasingly apparent, and Professor Hendricks began to understand something that the Academy's military instructors had missed entirely. Maya Torres had not just killed the Grimjaw efficiently, she had enjoyed doing it. Not the killing itself, but the puzzle of it. The intellectual challenge of figuring out how to take apart something she had never encountered before. To her, the Grimjaw had not been a terrifying war beast. It had been a particularly interesting homework assignment. This realization was both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Professor, Maya continued, do you have any other specimens I could examine? I mean, combat situations are fine, but I would really prefer to do a proper anatomical study without having to worry about being eaten. Hendricks made more notes. Many, many more notes. Meanwhile, in the Academy's administrative offices, Vex 9 was having the conversation he had been dreading since humans first joined the Galactic Academy. Sir, he said to Admiral Karis Prime via holographic transmission, I need to recommend an immediate classification upgrade for human combat capabilities. The Admiral's insectoid features showed polite interest. Oh? Have they demonstrated some new tactical innovation? In a manner of speaking, sir. One of their cadets just killed a juvenile Grimjaw in under 2 minutes using only a standard energy blade. The hologram flickered as if the transmission had encountered some interference. I am sorry, Commander, but I believe there was a communication error. It sounded as if you said a human cadet killed a Grimjaw. Yes, sir. That is exactly what I said. A juvenile Grimjaw? Fully grown, sir. One of the specimens from the Cathara breeding program. Admiral Karis Prime's compound eyes widened to their maximum aperture. Commander, are you certain your facility's equipment was functioning properly? Triple-checked, sir. All sensors, chronometers, and recording devices confirmed the results. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. Commander Vex 9, I need you to file a complete report and forward all sensor data immediately. And, Commander? Yes, sir? Double the security protocols for human cadets. If they can kill Grimjaws as casually as they appear to kill everything else, we may need to reconsider our entire approach to training them. The transmission ended, leaving Vex 9 alone with his thoughts and a growing suspicion that the humans were going to make his job considerably more complicated in the weeks to come. Back in the preparation area, Maya had finished her paperwork and was heading toward the showers when she encountered Finn Murphy in the corridor. Maya, he called out, jogging to catch up. What the hell was that back there? What was what? She asked innocently. You killed a Grimjaw, with a knife, in less than 2 minutes. Maya considered this. Well, Technically, it was an energy blade, not a knife. And it was actually 1 minute and 43 seconds, not 2 minutes. Finn stared at her. That is not the point, Maya. That thing was supposed to be unkillable. Obviously not, since I just killed it. But how? How did you know where to cut it? Maya paused in the corridor, her expression becoming more serious. Finn, back on Earth, my family runs a cattle ranch. Do you know how many different ways there are to stop a 2,000-pound angry bull? No? Dozens? And every single one of them requires you to understand exactly how the animal's body works, where its weak points are, and how to exploit them without getting yourself killed in the process. She resumed walking. The Grimjaw was just a really big bull with more teeth and better armor. Finn hurried to keep up. But it was an alien creature. You had never seen one before. So, basic biology is basic biology, regardless of what planet it evolved on. Muscles, joints, nerves, circulation. The details change, but the fundamentals remain the same. They reached the shower facilities, and Maya paused at the entrance. Finn, can I ask you something? Sure. Why is everyone acting like what I did was so unusual? I mean, the Academy trains us to fight hostile aliens, right? Isn't killing them efficiently kind of the whole point? Finn opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Maya, I think the problem is that most of us see the combat training as, well, as training to survive long enough to get rescued or to complete a mission. You seem to see it as training to win. Maya considered this. Is there a difference? And with that question, she disappeared into the shower facility, leaving Finn standing in the corridor with the growing realization that his classmate might be the most dangerous person he had ever met. And with that question, she disappeared into the shower facility, leaving Finn standing in the corridor with the growing realization that his classmate might be the most dangerous person he had ever met. The really terrifying part was that she did not even seem to realize it. News of Maya's demonstration spread through the Academy faster than a containment breach alert. By evening mess, every cadet, instructor, and janitor knew about the human who had casually butchered a Grimjaw like it was Tuesday's dinner special. Maya, however, seemed blissfully unaware of her newfound celebrity status. She sat at her usual table in the cafeteria, methodically working through a plate of what the Academy optimistically called nutritionally balanced protein substitute, while reading a datapad on comparative xenobiology. Mind if we sit? Came a voice above her. Maya looked up to see 3 senior cadets standing beside her table. She recognized them. Crix Alpha, a Vorthon whose species was known for producing some of the galaxy's finest warriors. Zephyr 9, whose crystalline skin indicated noble birth among the Selenites, and Marcus Webb, another human who had graduated top of his class in tactical combat. Sure, Maya said, gesturing to the empty chairs. Though I should warn you, the protein substitute tastes like someone liquefied a boot and added salt. Crix Alpha's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. We did not come to discuss the food, Cadet Torres. Oh, Maya set down her fork. Let me guess. You want to know about the Grimjaw thing. The Grimjaw thing? Zephyr 9's voice carried the musical tones characteristic of her species, though with an edge of disbelief. You speak of it as though it were a minor training exercise. Well, Maya said reasonably, it was a training exercise. Just a really big, toothy one. Marcus leaned forward. Maya, do you understand what you accomplished today? That creature had killed 3 veteran warriors just last week, beings with decades of combat experience. Maya tilted her head thoughtfully. Were they trying to fight it? Or survive it? What do you mean? There is a difference. If you are trying to survive something, you focus on defense, evasion, staying alive until help arrives. If you are trying to fight it, you focus on winning. She picked up her fork again. I was trying to win. The three senior cadets exchanged glances. Crix Alpha spoke first. Your approach was unconventional. Was it? I thought it was pretty straightforward. Identify weak points, exploit them efficiently, minimize risk to yourself. Maya took another bite of the protein substitute and grimaced. Though I have to say, your Academy's idea of edible food is far more challenging than your war beasts. This comment produced what could only be described as stunned silence from her table-mates. Maya, Marcus said carefully, most sentient beings would consider a Grimjaw significantly more dangerous than cafeteria food. Have you tasted this stuff? Maya held up a forkful of the gray substance. At least the Grimjaw was honest about wanting to kill me. Before anyone could respond to this observation, a commotion near the cafeteria entrance caught their attention. Admiral Karis Prime had arrived, accompanied by a full security detail and looking decidedly agitated. The Admiral's compound eyes swept the cafeteria until they located Maya's table. He approached with the measured pace of someone trying very hard to appear calm. Cadet Torres, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the suddenly quiet cafeteria. Maya looked up from her meal. Yes, sir? I need to speak with you. Privately. Maya glanced at her half-finished plate, then at the Admiral's distinctly unhappy expression. Am I in trouble, sir? That, Admiral Karis Prime replied, is an excellent question. The Admiral's private office was a testament to military efficiency. Clean lines, functional furniture, and enough security screens to monitor a small war. Maya sat in the single chair facing the Admiral's desk, looking remarkably relaxed for someone who might be facing court-martial. Cadet Torres, the Admiral began, your performance today has raised some significant concerns. About my technique? Because I think the approach was sound, though I admit I could have been more efficient with the initial assessment phase. Admiral Karis Prime paused. Cadet, do you understand that you killed a creature designed to be unkillable? Well, obviously it was not designed very well then. The Admiral's compound eyes twitched. The Grimjaw was created by the hegemony's best bioengineers specifically to counter our most advanced military tactics. Did they test it against veterinary techniques? What? Maya shifted in her chair. Sir, the hegemony designs their creatures to fight soldiers. Soldiers approach problems like soldiers. I approached it like a veterinarian dealing with a dangerous animal. And the difference is, soldiers try to kill the enemy. Veterinarians try to understand the animal first, then deal with it as efficiently as possible. Different mindset, different results. Admiral Karis Prime made several notes on his datapad. Cadet Torres, I need to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Yes, sir. How many other Earth creatures could you neutralize using similar methods? Maya considered the question seriously. Well, sir, that would depend on the creature. But if you are asking whether the basic approach would work on other biologics, then yes, probably most of them. Most of them? Biology is biology, sir. Once you understand the basic systems, everything else is just variations on a theme. The Admiral's notes were becoming increasingly frantic. Cadet, are you saying that you could potentially defeat any biological opponent? Not any, sir. Some creatures are just too well designed or too large to approach safely. But most? Yes, probably. What? About non-biological opponents? Maya's eyes lit up with interest. Like mechanical constructs? That would be fascinating. The principles would be different, obviously. Instead of biological systems, you would be looking at structural stress points, power distribution networks, control systems. She trailed off, noticing the Admiral's expression. "Sir, are you feeling well? You look a little pale." Admiral Karras Prime was indeed looking pale, despite his species' natural blue coloration. "Cadet Torres, I am going to ask you to keep today's events confidential while we conduct a thorough review." "Of course, sir. Though I should mention that Professor Hendricks asked if I could examine some other specimens for research purposes." "Absolutely not. Sir, no more specimens. No more examinations. No more." The Admiral paused, searching for the right words. Creative problem-solving involving Academy training assets. Maya looked disappointed. "But, sir, the learning opportunities. We'll have to wait until we better understand the implications of your current learning opportunities." After Maya left, Admiral Karras Prime activated his secure communication array and waited for the connection to stabilize. "High Command, this is Admiral Karras Prime, with an urgent classification update." "Go ahead, Admiral." "I need to recommend immediate reclassification of human combat personnel from support auxiliary to strategic asset. Handle with extreme caution." "Admiral, that classification is reserved for weapons of mass destruction." "Yes, sir, I am aware." There was a long pause. "Admiral, are you seriously suggesting that individual human personnel should be classified as weapons of mass destruction?" "Sir, I have just conducted an interview with the human cadet who killed the Grimjaw. She indicated that her methods would work on most biological opponents, and expressed enthusiastic interest in testing similar approaches on mechanical constructs." Another pause, longer this time. "Admiral, forward all relevant files immediately. We may need to convene an emergency session of the Strategic Council." "Already done, sir." Meanwhile, in the Academy's research laboratory, Professor Hendricks was conducting his own examination of the deceased Grimjaw. What he found was both impressive and deeply unsettling. The creature had not been butchered or hacked apart. It had been surgically disabled with precision that would have impressed a trained medical professional. Each cut was exactly where it needed to be, no deeper than necessary, no wasted motion. "Remarkable," he muttered, making notes. "She identified and exploited structural weaknesses that our best military analysts missed entirely." His assistant, Dr. Vex 12, leaned over the examination table. "Professor, look at this neural cut. It is positioned perfectly to sever the primary motor control pathway without damaging any secondary systems." Which suggests she understood not just the creature's anatomy, but also its neurological architecture. In less than 2 minutes, while being actively attacked by it, they stared at the creature in silence for several moments. "Professor, Doctor," Vex 12 said quietly, "what exactly are humans?" "I am beginning to think," Professor Hendricks replied, "that we may have been asking the wrong question. The real question is not what they are, but what they are capable of becoming." Back in the dormitories, Maya was finally getting some peace and quiet. She had spent the evening fielding questions from curious cadets, dodging interview requests from Academy media, and politely declining invitations to demonstrate her technique on various volunteer subjects. Now, finally alone in her room, she was able to focus on her real passion: the xenobiology research she had been conducting since arriving at the Academy. Her personal datapad contained detailed notes on 17 different alien species, complete with anatomical diagrams, behavioral analyses, and theoretical approaches for dealing with hostile encounters. The Grimjaw was just her latest entry. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Maya glanced at the sender and smiled. It was from her younger brother back on Earth. "Hey, sis," the message read. "Dad heard about your little demonstration from some military buddy of his. Says you made quite an impression. Mom wants to know if you are eating enough vegetables. I want to know if you are still planning to come back and help with the harvest next year, or if you are too busy being a galactic badass now. Love you." Maya laughed and started typing her reply. "Tell Mom the Academy has plenty of vegetables, even if they taste terrible. Tell Dad his military buddy probably does not know the half of it. And yes, I will be back for harvest. Someone needs to keep you from getting trampled by the bulls." She paused, then added, "P.S. I am not a galactic badass. I just pay attention in biology class." As she sent the message, Maya reflected on the day's events. Everyone seemed so surprised by what she had accomplished, but to her, it had been straightforward problem-solving. See the problem, understand the problem, solve the problem. The fact that the problem had been a 2-ton killing machine seemed largely irrelevant to the underlying methodology. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Maya opened it to find Finn standing in the corridor, looking slightly nervous. "Hey," he said. "Can we talk?" "Sure. Come in." Finn entered and took a seat in the room's single chair. "Maya, I have been thinking about what happened today." "Oh, no, not you too. Hear me out. What you did was incredible, but I think you need to understand something." Maya sat on her bed, facing him. "Which is? You scared them. All of them. The instructors, the senior cadets, probably even the admiral." "Scared them? Why?" "I followed all safety protocols and completed the exercise within acceptable parameters." "Because you made it look easy." "Maya, that thing was supposed to be impossible to kill in single combat. You did not just kill it. You made it look routine." Maya considered this. "So I am in trouble for being too good at the assignment?" "No, you are in trouble because you demonstrated capabilities that nobody expected humans to possess. And when people are surprised by what you can do, they start wondering what else you might be capable of." "What else I might be capable of?" "Maya, think about it. If you can kill a Grimjaw that easily, what could you do to, say, a Keltorian, or a Vorthan, or any of the other species in the Academy?" Maya's expression grew thoughtful. "I suppose the same basic principles would apply, though I would need to study their anatomical specifications first." Finn stared at her. "Maya, do you hear yourself right now?" "What?" "You just casually discussed how you would go about killing our classmates." "Hypothetically, for academic purposes. That does not make it less terrifying." Maya was quiet for several moments. "Finn, do you think I am dangerous?" "Yes, absolutely. Without question. But I would never hurt any of our classmates. I know that. You know that. But they do not know that. All they know is that you have capabilities they never suspected, and that makes them nervous." Maya nodded slowly. "So, what do I do?" "Be careful. Be very, very careful. Because I think you just changed how the entire galaxy sees humanity, and that is not necessarily a good thing." As Finn left, Maya returned to her xenobiology studies, but now her research had taken on a different significance. She was no longer just satisfying academic curiosity. She was preparing for a future where that knowledge might become very, very important. 3 days later, the Strategic Council convened in emergency session. Representatives from 12 major galactic powers gathered in the secure chamber aboard Command Station Alpha to discuss what military analysts were calling the human problem. Admiral Karras Prime presented his findings to the assembled delegates. His report was comprehensive, detailed, and terrifying. In conclusion, he said, we must consider the possibility that humanity represents a fundamentally different approach to warfare than we have previously encountered. They do not merely fight to win. They fight to understand, and understanding makes them exponentially more dangerous. General Thex Prime of the Keltorian Defense Force spoke first. Admiral, are you suggesting that a single human cadet represents a threat to galactic security? No, General. I am suggesting that what this cadet represents might be a threat to galactic security. If one human can accomplish what we witnessed, what could 1,000 humans accomplish? Or 1,000,000? But surely this individual is exceptional, even among her own species. That is what we initially assumed. However, further investigation revealed that Cadet Torres considers her abilities unremarkable. According to her, these are basic skills taught to anyone dealing with large animals on her home world. The chamber fell silent. Admiral, came a voice from the Zephyrian delegation, are you telling us that Earth routinely trains its population to kill large, dangerous creatures? Apparently, yes, though they frame it as animal husbandry and veterinary medicine. More silence. Finally, the hegemony's representative spoke. What do you recommend? Admiral Karras Prime's response would echo through galactic politics for generations to come. I recommend that we very carefully avoid making humanity angry. Back at the Academy, Maya Torres continued her studies, unaware that she had just fundamentally altered the balance of power in the galaxy. She had more important things to worry about, like whether the cafeteria would ever serve anything that actually tasted like food. Some battles, after all, were more important than others,